6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The President commences the official tour to Japan today. The answer script evaluation of GCE Advanced Level Exam is expected to be completed by next month. 6 new investment zones for North, Eastern and Waimar provinces. The debate on the proposal to remove PUCSL Chairman Janaka Ratnayaka will take place today in Parliament. President Ranil Wickremesinghe invited to attend the World Climate Action Summit in UAE. The IMF says Sri Lanka's overall macroeconomic and policy environment remains challenging but shows improvement. Saudi Arabia and Sri Lanka agree to strengthen cooperation in several sectors. The final draft of the new Electricity Act to be presented before Cabinet in June. News overseas, Ukraine war, US distances itself from Belgrade incursion to Russia. In sports, soccer, Arsenal forward Saka signs new long-term contract. News in detail. Upon completion of their mission to Sri Lanka, the International Monetary Fund IMF team says that keeping up the economic reform momentum and ensuring timely implementation of the IMF-supported programs commitments are key for Sri Lanka to emerge the economic crisis. The IMF delegation says that there is an improvement in the economic struggle with the support of some strict regulations. The mission discussed recent economic developments and the implementation of the IMF-supported program, including additional fiscal efforts that will be critical to ensure successful revenue mobilization for Sri Lanka and the debt restructuring process, not excluding the ongoing discussions with both foreign and domestic creditors. Issuing a statement following their visit, the IMF team said achieving timely restructuring agreements with creditors in line with the program targeted by the time the first review is essential to restoring debt sustainability. Keeping up the reform momentum and ensuring timely implementation of program commitments, including to ensure central bank independence, improve governance and protect the vulnerable are key for Sri Lanka to emerge from the economic crisis. An IMF mission led by Messrs. Peter Brewer and Masahiro Nozaki conducted a staff visit to Colombo from 11th to 23rd of May. Accordingly, while recent macroeconomic and financial sector developments were discussed during the meeting, the staff team recognized that following strong policy efforts, the macroeconomic situation in Sri Lanka is showing tentative signs of improvement, with inflation moderating, the exchange rate stabilizing, and the central bank rebuilding reserve buffers. Despite these advancements, however, they highlighted that the overall macroeconomic and policy environment remains challenging. Saudi Arabia and Sri Lanka have agreed to strengthen bilateral cooperation in several sectors of common interest. The two countries have reached agreements after discussing 65 items related to the fields of security, justice, labour, trade, industry, investment, energy, finance, economy, transportation, communication, agriculture, education, health, sport, culture, tourism, religious affairs, media and work. This came during the conclusion of the work of the Saudi-Sri Lankan Joint Committee, which was held in Riyadh and chaired by Abdullah Abu Tanen, Vice Minister, Human Resources and Social Development for Labour, and Tharaka Balasurya, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs in Sri Lanka. Abu Tanan has praised the efforts made by the two parties during the technical meeting, which was held within the week of the Joint Committee, which contributed to building an optimal path to enhance the joint cooperation between the two countries. He also confirmed Saudi Arabia's aspiration for the second session of the committee, which will be held in the Sri Lankan capital, Colombo. President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of the United Arab Emirates has invited President Ranil Wickremesinghe to participate in the World Climate Action Summit. The invitation for the key event, which will inaugurate the Emirates Climate Conference, was sent in a letter to Wickremesinghe, with the UAE President expressing his warm greetings and well-wishes for the progress and prosperity of Sri Lanka and its people. The letter was officially handed over to the Sri Lankan head of state on Monday by the ambassador of UAE to Sri Lanka, Khalil Nasser Al Ameri. The summit leaders event is scheduled to take place on the 1st and 2nd of December, coinciding with the UAE's 52nd National Day celebrations. Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe will commence a Japan official tour today. He expects to meet the Prime Minister of Japan and Economic Minister during his stay in Japan. Also, the President will address the Nikkei conference. The debate on the proposal to remove PUCSL Chairman Janaka Ratnayaka will take place today, and the voting is scheduled to be held in the afternoon. All MPs representing the ruling party have been informed in writing that they must attend the parliamentary meeting today. The parliament will meet today at 9:30 a.m. Meanwhile, Samagi Jana Balwega MPs and several other opposition political parties are preparing to vote in favour of the proposal to remove PUCSL Chairman Janaka Ratnayaka from that position, according to political sources. Political sources further said that several opposition MPs have assured that they will vote in favour of the proposal after consulting with the high-level leaders of the government. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. In a bid to address the challenges faced by welfare beneficiaries in receiving their allowances, the Welfare Benefit Board says it has decided to implement a direct crediting system effective from July. The move will ensure that beneficiaries' bank accounts are directly credited with relevant welfare benefits, according to Welfare Benefit Board Chairman B. Wijeratna. His remarks came during the 101 Kata program produced by the President Media Division. This encompasses the correction of any previous errors in social welfare benefits and the continuation of existing government assistance programs such as Samudhi and elderly assistance, Wijeratna added. To further assist those without bank accounts, the Welfare Benefit Board has taken the necessary steps to facilitate the opening of bank accounts for beneficiaries who do not have one. Speaking to the Aswasuma Welfare Benefit Program, the chairman said the selection of beneficiaries is carried out through a centralized database, ensuring that political affiliations do not influence the assistance provided. The Aswasuma Welfare Benefit Program, initiated by President as part of the social safety net to alleviate the ongoing economic crisis, is under the purview of Finance State Minister Shahan Semasinghe, with involvement from various government agencies, including the Ministry of Finance. Through this program, financial assistance will be provided to the lower income group, comprising 40% of the society across the categories, and the government aims to offer 15,000 rupees per month to families falling under the extremely poor category, Wijeratna explained. The final draft of the new Electricity Act is due to be submitted to the Attorney General's Department and the legal draftsman next week for translation and certification process, Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara said. The Ceylon Electricity Board Reforms Committee, together with legal and energy consultants provided by development agencies to assist the relevant reforms, met the President's office this morning to discuss the final draft of the new Act and transition program in this regard. Accordingly, the previous timeline predicted for the completion of the final draft has been amended, and thus, owing to observations made by stakeholders, the amended final draft of the Act will be presented before the Cabinet in the month of June, albeit initially scheduled for last week. Chief of Staff to the President Sagar Ratnayaka, members of the CEB Reforms Committee and Development Agency consultants were present at the meeting. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
6 new investment zones will be established in the northern, eastern and Wayamba provinces. State Minister Diluma Amulugama said these zones will be set up with the sole objective of promoting export crops in these provinces. Accordingly, new industrial zones will be established in Trincomalee, Mankulam, Paranthan and Kankasanture. Further industrial zones will also be set up in Iranavilla and Bingiri areas in Wayamba province, the State Minister added. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
And in Watchlight, the 2022 GC Advanced Level Answer Sheet Evaluation is now being conducted, and it will even be continued during the GC ordinary level exam days. The department expects to complete the evaluation process by next month. The examinations department says that admission cards and timetable of GC ordinary level exam for the school applicants have been mailed to the principals of the respective schools. The admission cards for the private applicants have been sent to the address mentioned in the application. All tuition classes and mock paper discussions of GC O-level banned from last midnight. The exam is scheduled to be held from the 29th of this month to the 8th of June, and that came to in Watchlight. Now moving on to world news. In the headlines, Ukraine war, US distances itself from Belgrade incursion into Russia. Stan Grant, Aboriginal TV host, exit renews criticism of Australian media. Guyana school fire, angry students suspected of starting deadly blaze. The US has distanced itself from the incursion into Russia, which Moscow says ended in a defeat of armed insurgents who entered from Ukraine. Parts of the border region of Belgrade came under attack on Monday in one of the most major cross-border raids since Russia invaded its neighbor last year. Russia later released pictures of abandoned, damaged Western military vehicles, including US-made Humvees. After a prestigious career of more than 3 decades, trailblazing Aboriginal journalist Stan Grant hosted his final show on Monday and walked away from Australian TV screens indefinitely. Racism is a crime. Racism is violence, and I have had enough, Grant wrote in a column last week, explaining his decision. The Wiradjuri man made history in 1992 when he became the first Aboriginal presenter on primetime commercial TV in Australia. He went on to win slew of awards in Australian media and was an international correspondent for CNN and Al Jazeera before returning home in 2019 to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation ABC. A deadly fire at a school dormitory in Guyana appeared to have been started by a pupil who was angry her mobile phone had been confiscated, officials say. 19 people, mostly female students, were killed in a blaze in South American country in the early hours of Monday. The dorm was reportedly locked and had covered windows which trapped victims. The teenage suspect is currently in hospital with burns and has reportedly admitted to the arson. And back to the headlines of the world news. Ukraine war, US distances itself from Belgrade incursion into Russia. Stan Grant, Aboriginal TV host, exits renewed criticism of Australian media. And Guyana school fire, angry students suspected of startling deadly blaze. And that ends world news.
Development news.
The much looked forward to Build Sri Lanka 2023 Housing and Construction Exhibition will commence on 26th May 2023 at the BMICH Cinema Bandaranaike Memorial Exhibition Hall under the patronage of Kotaro Katsuki, Deputy Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, and the event would commence at 10 a.m. and continue until 7 p.m. daily on 26th of May, 27th and 28th. Over 200 stalls will display products and services of housing and construction at this unique exhibition. And that was development news. And on to sports news, it's soccer. Bukayo Saka has signed a new deal to stay at Arsenal until 2027, saying the club is the right place to make the next step. The England forward has scored 14 goals for Gunners this season, contributing 11 assists. The just 21-year-old has already made 178 appearances for the club and has featured in all Arsenal's Premier League games over the past 2 campaigns. And that was sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account. NSB I Am, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Arpico Insurance PLC, a fully owned subsidiary of the blue chip conglomerate Richard Pearse and Company PLC, reported a 19.5% growth in gross written premium GWP in first quarter of 2023, exhibiting the 5th highest growth in life insurance industry. The group life business recorded the highest GWP in the company's history, with over 226 million rupees, also registering the life insurance industry's second highest business volume in the reporting quarter. In addition, the company's market share rose to 2.2% as well. And that was business news.
Business News, Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go එකක් තියන youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගින හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Economic news, courtesy of...
For the 5th consecutive year, LOLC is awarded People's Financial Services Brand of the Year at the 2022 Slim Kantar People's Awards. As the People's Financial Services Brand of the Year, LOLC continues to place the customer first, and this has won the hearts, minds and trust of Sri Lankans, with yet another prestigious award as proof of this lasting commitment. LOLC, imagine the possibilities.
Sri Lanka has received 489,319 tourist arrivals until the third week of May 2023, while maintaining over 100,000 arrivals every month. Total arrivals last year was 719,978, and this is expected to be bettered in few months. And that was economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award, whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.
Weather report.
The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in the eastern, north central and Uva provinces and in the Trincomalee district during the evening or night. A few showers may occur in the western coastal areas in the Galle and Mathura district during the morning too. General public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. This weather report was published this morning at 5:30 a.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. And to conclude this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The President's official tour to Japan today. Answer script evaluation of GC Advanced Level exam is expected to be completed by next month. 6 new investment zones for North, East and Waimbur provinces. The debate on the proposal to remove PUC-SL Chairman Janaka Ratnayaka will take place today in Parliament. President Ranil Wickremesinghe invited to attend the World Climate Action Summit in UAE. IMF says Sri Lanka's overall macroeconomic and policy environment remains challenging but shows improvement. Saudi Arabia and Sri Lanka agrees to strengthen cooperation in several sectors. The final draft of new Electricity Act to be presented before Cabinet in June. News from overseas, Ukraine war, US distance itself from Belgrade incursion into Russia. In sports, soccer, Arsenal forward Saka signs new long-term contract. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.